My name is Igor, and today I would like to share with you the improvements which has been made in the recent version of the extension framework. So I will cover a brief agenda for today's presentation, and we will discuss the existing features and APIs, cover small improvements and bug fixes done, and then we will introduce new extension points and components available in Sites 10.1. Then I will mention some other product changes, and I will wrap up with a demo. So let's start with what we already have. Our extension framework consists of three major parts. Uh, the first one is extension points. These are hooks or targets for integrating new features to the extensions, and they are being available among the app as, for example, Content Explorer, Activities Explorer, Publishing Queue Explorer, and here you can see some of the extension points available in those areas. The second part is components, and they include reusable items like React components, React hooks, including queries and mutations, which you can see listed here, and some other stuff like color palette. The third part is tools. You might have already used our CLI for creating new extensions with the extension CLI without needing to configure the Webpack and having a list of minimal dependencies listed in the package, which you can reuse. And that's the example of using the tools in during the work. And here are some quality of life improvements and fixes done. So previously, a type guard around the field definition for accessing RTF-related features was required, but now in the context of RTF extension, it has more specific type, and you don't actually need to type guard it, which eliminates the additional check at this point. The field state has been enriched with a new property is disabled, and it improves the flexibility of the extension settings, and it's being available in the app. So for example, now it indicates whether or not the given field is being a part of a local copy or a shared item. And this list includes more improvements, and some of these features are bug fixes like map to model, and while the others are updates due to the REST API update, such as the availability of use demoed item mutation. It also includes some alignments done in order to make the API consistent. So I would like to present you some new components and extension points. In 10.1, we have introduced use model hook and some helper React components listed here. So they are model header, model content, and model footer, while the hook by itself, it allows you to manage the visibility of the model component being displayed. Those helper items are being used among the application to unify the look of the models in the app. There is a new add item editor as a new extension point, and to cover the needs of the content management and lifecycle, we have added the ability to extend the editors. Now you can wrap existing views with custom logic and build new actions around them. API for new endpoint is quite similar to the rest of the places, and it accepts the ID of the extended editor and React component to be rendered instead. And also there is a hook which you can target specific conditions when this editor should be available. With the extended use editor hook, you can access more tools and data from the editor state, including such callbacks like onUpdate for updating the item which is being opened in the editor. As a result of adding new features to the product by itself, we also aligned the extension framework with these changes. For example, the list of Content Explorer actions has been expanded with new actions available in 10.1. And to keep up with the third-party development, we also updated the package versions, ensuring you can rely on the latest tools. As the result, we also listed those changes in the product with the new extensibility options. We also published updated versions of the packages, so you can already use them. The migration plan includes a section that mentions requirements for dependency upgrades for existing extensions. And when creating new extensions using CLI version 1.2, you will get all the required and up-to-date dependencies out of the box. Our OpenAPI client package has been updated and now uses the latest Tridion Sites REST API. And if you're interested in any of the new features available, please make sure you update the client package as well. On this table, you can check the match between versions of the product and the client package. And now we will dive to the demo, and I will start with the existing examples to walk through the main updates to focus on. I will start with the extension, the idea of which is to warn a user with a confirmation model that the item which is being opened in the editor and which user tries to edit is being archived. So let's dive into the index.ts file, which is a mount point for the extension module being exported from the extension. So in initialize function, it calls add editor content state checker, which actually implements the logic behind the extension. In this case, there is a translation file available right in the example, but feel free to move it out if it takes too much space. In this case, I would like to keep it simple to fit everything into the screen. And here the translation is being added, while on the next row with a function add item editor call, it is being configured to have its own priority and availability based on the state variables listed here. So in this case, the confirmation window should be displayed once it goes out of the read-only mode. And it is also an item or a page which is being a part of the editor. So next, let's dive to the component part, which is an editor wrapper in this case. So here the callback open is being taken from use confirmation hook. And on confirm, in this case, we do nothing. And the next two rows are title and description, which are being used for the configuration of the model to be open. Check and warrant function, which is a part of the use effect, is consists in itself the main logic for the representation. And so here, if the component is not being, if an item is not being a part of the component or page model, then it returns nothing. And else it goes to the additional check and verifying that it actually has an archived keyword applied to the metadata. In this case, it compares if it does, and then it opens a warning window that the item which is to be edited is archived. And let's see how it works in action. I will write yarn-dev function from my extension folder. And then I'm already targeting the cloud environment in which there is archived component. In this case, I would like to see the confirmation window as a part of the editor. Then I will press edit, and it does call the pop-up. This is still a confirmation window. This is not it doesn't implement the functionality of the model which we have added. For that example, I would like to keep you forward to the next example. So it is a task creation extension which allows user to create a custom task for the item selected. And I will walk you through the code. The mount point remains the same. Excuse me, not mount point. The extension model remains the same. Initialize function calls at create workflow task action, in which there is still a net translation file, add action to add a new action to the Content Explorer, and to represent the icon with the button in the toolbar, we need to add it as a new group to Content Explorer table toolbar. And in this case, the return object consists in itself use action, which has use create workflow task action. And this is the file which consists the logic. So here the model content component, which is a part of the implementation. But to get to that, it also needs to initialize it in the tree, which useModel does. So by we open the model window with some initial settings. There are a few more to your preferences. Execute is being returned as a resulting object in this hook. And it starts workflow once all of the conditions are met. In this case, if the confirmation button has been chosen, if the context publication exists, and so forth. So in this case, there is also a start workflow, which represents a wrapper around the Open API client service requests. To dive into model content component, and it implements the logic for handle confirm and updating the results. And there is also a useState variable result, which should be used to return the field values of the model. In the render function, there are some inputs, some of which are being rendered via custom imports in the same folder, and some of the others are such as text input and datetime picker are being imported from the third-party library. There is an assignee select as well for choosing the assignee for the current task being created. And there is a process definition select. There is also a datetime picker, which is a part of the third-party library we're using. And if you might have noticed already, it uses model footer, model content, and model header, which we have which will allow out for exporting from our extensions bridge. I think it should cover that. I will try that example as well. So in this case, to see the action which is being added to the toolbar, we need to go into the publication, because on the root level, it is not being displayed as per our configuration. Oh. Yeah, excuse me, I chose the I think it shows the wrong target. Let me check that. Yes, so there is a start task button, and it opens a model window in which I can populate with some data, like view subject, new action, assign it to myself, and select the task process as a definition, as a process definition. Due date is being chosen as well, and the task is being created. It can also be seen in activities, which is listed up here. That's it. We also got a live example of the demo being created just to make sure the extension CLI is being created. Excuse me, the add-on is being created from the extension CLI. I will run it with my command. To do that, I will call npx extension CLI create, and it will ask multiple questions regarding the initial setup of the add-on. In this case, I will set up the add-on with default values, such as my add-on name as well. The description should remain the same, author's name as well. The name should be the same. Description, I will leave the default value. And as the URL of Tridion Sites to be targeted, I'm going to select the environment which has been created before. It will install some dependencies. And while it's being installed, I think I will cover the main idea of the extension to be developed. So the idea is to use the editor extension point in order to create an item which has potentially a duplicated name. To mitigate that, I will add a current timestamp to the item name in the editor, which eliminates the possibility of having the same item created with two items created with the same name. The dependencies have been installed. I will go to the add-on example. I will also go to my extension. And to start with the basic, I will also update my host variable in the dev server in order to address the issue with the environment, the target environment being run in the cloud. In the package.json, I can make sure that the target has been set properly. And I also should cover that in order to make the cloud environment work, there is documentation which I'm going to link in the end of the presentation. There is some boilerplate to be done in order to make it work. An index file from which I will begin developing my example. So here I'm going to initialize it. I will start with the basic name. That example is going to be the starting point of the extension, and I'm going to import it from the file which I'm going to create. In here, I will create a file with the same name, and I will import it from here. It will accept a builder as an argument. And it has extension builder type. So in here, inside of the function, I'm going to add item editor to the current content editor. It is going to return an object with the property set component of my custom editor, which I'm going to return here. Some ID. And it also uses use content editor view to determine the settings of the editor to be displayed. It has some options available, like is available on priority, which is being added to prioritize two extensions which are being used in the same extension point. But in this case, I only need is available. And I should cover some conditions for the item to be displayed, for the extension item to be displayed. And for that, I can take is read only and item from the props which are being passed to the use content editor view. An item should be an instance of component imported from our front-end models, and the item should be in not read-only state. So now I'm going to implement the custom editor. Here it is going to return a React component. So I'm going to use Mimo. And then it will accept some props. In this case, it is going to be the destructured object onto properties render item. I'm going to define the type right here. It is a content editor view extension, I think. Let me verify that. Yeah, so it's content editor view extension component props, and it is being exported from our extensions right here of Mimo. So I'm going to add a custom editor, a display name to be displayed correctly in the DOM tree. And here I'm going to get some properties from the props object, which is being passed to custom editor. In this case, I will take a render editor, which I'm going to return as a part of the empty tag wrapper here as an element. But You can also use it inside of the custom wrapper being returned in as the React component. I will also take is read only, and I will take the item by itself. So for this behavior of changing the name of the item to be applied only on mount, I'm going to create a use effect which should be ran only once for changing the item name once the state has been changed from is read only to the edit. Oh, excuse me, once the item is being created. And in this case, I will check if the item name has not been changed yet. So I will take some state in here. And it will be false by default. And here I'm going to check if it is already been performed, then we will do nothing. And in another case, I'm going to update the existing component title. So I will call my function update existing component title. I don't need any arguments here because I'm going to take my item from the props here above. So my function is going to be wrapped in a callback. And here I'm going to update the item name. So in this case, I'm going to update the title, but since our models are our front-end models are read-only, I'm going to take the item, convert it back to the original OpenAPI structured data, and then I will update the item inside and convert it back to a model. So I will take the updated item, which is item get internal model, which returns the original item of in the backend structure. Then I should make sure I set is performed to true to have it run only once. And I'm going to call the update. So to have an option to call on update from use editor, I need to take it from the hook at first. It is going to be a hook use editor imported from the extensions. And here I'm going to take on update callback. In this case, I'm going to pass the updated item in here. Excuse me. It is going to be the updated item returned back to the model on the front end. So updated item is going to remain the same, except for the title prop, which is going to take the original title and the timestamp. Now I need to convert it back to the model. To do that, I'm going to create a middleware constant updated item model, which will take map to model from models of type extension of type component, and it will convert the updated item back to its front-end state. And I'm going to pass it to on update as an argument. I think it should cover that. I got some more VS Code update to fix. Right. So now I would like to pack this extension and push it back to remote. And to do that, I'm going to run yarn run pack. It will create a zip package of the extension of the add-on being created for the future upload. And I will upload it to the cloud environment. Here is the item which has just been created. And I will go to the add-ons. And it's being activated at the moment. And meanwhile, I'm going to set up the correct link. It's here. It says success. Let's see if it works. So now I'm going to create a new component, and the timestamp is being added on mount of the editor. That was the last example for our demo, and I will go back to slides. Yeah. So if you already have existing extensions for Tridion Sites 10, you might find the migration plan in handy. And as before, we list all of the potential changes required for existing extensions to work with Sites 10.1. And in most cases, you only just need to upgrade the dependencies. Here are the public extension examples and migration plan available. And we will publish new examples in the nearest future as well. Documentation is being available on developers.rws.com. And the GitHub page with the examples, which I mentioned previously, is here as well. And that's it for now. And please reach out if you have any suggestions or questions regarding the extension framework API, examples or tooling. You can use any of our existing portals like the community forum, Stack Exchange, and also GitHub. Thank you.